I can tell you as I sit here, I'm just disturbed, and that's putting it lightly. Because when I look at this fiasco, I think both of these companies did have something to do with it. And I'm not going to sit here and act like you didn't. And I think Tom Friedman, in his article dated November 25th, the New York Times put it right. He said so many people were in on it. People who had no business buying a home with nothing down and nothing to pay for 2 years. People who had no business pushing such mortgages but made fortunes doing so. People who had no business bundling those loans into securities and selling them to third parties as if they were AAA bonds, but made fortunes doing so. People who had no business rating those loans as AAA, but made fortunes doing so. And people who had no business buying those bonds and putting them on their balance sheet so they could earn a little better yield, but made fortunes doing so. And, the thing that gets me is that I've got constituents who, and I think Mr. Towns alluded to this, folks have tried to blame poor people and minorities, but a lot of those people, and I admire you for what you said, Mr. Renzo, you talked about the dreams of folk and trying to help them get a home and how important it is. But what has happened as a result of all of these folks, including some of you guys, what has happened is that the people in my district have been left with two things, holding a bag. They've lost their houses and they've got zero in one bag and debt in the other. That's what they've got. And so I want to go to you, Mr. Stein, because you said some very interesting things that I'd like to just hear a little bit more about. You talked about these no income, no asset loans. They're called NINA loans. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Keep your voice up. We want to hear clearly what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
Banks use a no income, no asset mortgage to lend money to a borrower without requiring any information about the person's income or assets. This was an increasingly popular type of Alt-A loan in 2004, 2005, 2006, and Freddie Mac purchased a lot of them. Let me ask a common sense question. Why would anyone give a mortgage without requiring information on a borrower's income or assets? Help me with that.
Well, sir, if you have information on their FICO score, right, and they have a strong FICO score, and you have information on the loan-to-value ratio of the property, in many of those cases, you would see that the risk for the loan shouldn't be that great. These loans were developed in the first place for what you might call borrowers that had special characteristics, i.e. uneven income flows, actors, waitresses.
Well, obviously you're not familiar with Mr. Range's testimony, because what I read is written testimony. He said part of it was got into these subprimes before they were based on people had equity, and then when they didn't, and when we moved to these kinds of loans, they were more based on scores. So we got rid of the equity. A lot of times the equity that we really needed to secure these loans, to truly secure them, and we went to this other form of basically what you're about to tell me now. But can you tell me why Mike May, one of your top executives, wrote in a memo to you on October 6, 2004 that Freddie should continue buying NINA loans because, in his words, quote, it provides unique market growth opportunities to Freddie Mac?
Sir, I don't have the memo before me, but I'll try to answer on the basis of...
Briefly, because they only gave me 5 minutes.
Okay. I think what had happened is the market had migrated away from the traditional kinds of products that Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae had provided, and I think what he was... I'm speculating.
Well, let me speculate. Let me tell you what I speculate. I speculate it was about profit. I speculate that it was about greed, because a top Freddie credit official, Ray Romano, explained the rationale for doing so in June 4, 2007, in a memo to Freddie Mac board, where he warned about the, quote, the increased reputation, fraud, predatory lending, and credit risk posed by our current program. How about that?